So today, we're going to talk about a car that is just drop-dead gorgeous, surprisingly affordable and, well, as you're about to see, deeply, deeply flawed. This is the 2014 to 2020 Jaguar F-Type, and let me tell you, it might just break your heart as fast as it'll break your bank account. I mean, come on, let's just start right there. The F-Type is a total masterpiece. You know, the story goes that designer Ian Callum was told for years that Jaguar just couldn't build a real sports car anymore. Well, this was his answer, and what an answer it is. The proportions, perfect. The shape, iconic. And oh yeah, it's got a supercharged V8 that literally sounds like the world is ending. It's just pure emotion on four wheels.
And here is where the trap is set. This is where it gets really tempting. On the used market right now, you can get into one of these rolling works of art for $30,000 to maybe $50,000. That's a huge, huge slice off the original price. And that leads to a very dangerous comparison.
So think about this. For about the same cash as a brand new, super practical, and really fast Honda Civic Type R, you could have the Jag, a 550 horsepower, supercharged V8 beast that sounds like thunder and does 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. When you look at it on paper like this, it seems like a no-brainer, the deal of a lifetime, right?
Yeah, you knew this was coming, didn't you? A car that looks this good, with that much power, for this little money, there is always a catch. And with the F-Type, my friend, it is a big one. See, the problem isn't one giant explosive failure. No, it's something way worse. It's a slow, steady, and incredibly expensive series of problems that just never, ever ends.
And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head. This is the whole story. The F-Type probably won't strand you with a blown engine tomorrow. Instead, it's going to slowly, consistently, and very painfully bleed your wallet dry. A constant drip, drip, drip of repairs that are all just expensive enough to hurt.
All right, let's get into the weeds. Let's start with the heart of this beautiful beast, the engine and all the bits connected to it. This is where some of the biggest and most frequent bills are going to come from.
If you take away one thing from this explainer, make it this. If you are even thinking about buying an F-Type, you have to know about this issue. It is, without a doubt, the #1 most common failure on these cars. It gets pretty much all of them.
So here's what happens. Jaguar, in its wisdom, used plastic coolant pipes and buried them deep in the engine, right under the supercharger. All that heat makes them brittle, and eventually they crack. You'll start to see your coolant level mysteriously dropping, and then one day, bam, you get that dreaded engine overheating warning. And the real kicker? To fix these cheap plastic parts, a mechanic has to pull the entire supercharger off the engine.
And that is what the bill for that little design oversight looks like. We're talking $2,000 to $3,500 for a repair that is practically guaranteed to happen at some point. Welcome to your first and maybe most painful paper cut.
Oh, but don't worry, it doesn't stop there. Not even close. That supercharger, the bearing inside it will wear out. You'll hear this whining sound. That's another $3,000. The water pump? Yep, that'll fail too. Another $1,500. The transmission is pretty tough, but its electronic brain can fail. That's a $4,000 fix. And those fancy adaptive shocks that give it such a great ride, they start to leak, and that'll be $1,200 per corner. The cuts are definitely getting deeper.
Okay, so let's move away from the big mechanical stuff and talk about the gremlins. The uniquely British electrical quirks that haunt this car's coolest and most frustrating features.
And I'm really not exaggerating here. I mean it. If you like your car's touchscreen to, work, this system will drive you absolutely insane. Jaguar tried to fix it with updates over the years, but let's be real, they never quite got there.
It is painfully slow, it crashes all the time, sometimes it just freezes up completely. It's just not a pleasant thing to use, ever. And a heads up, if you're looking at a car from before 2018, you're getting a version of the system that is somehow even worse. It's this constant source of annoyance in what is otherwise a beautiful interior.
Okay, you know those awesome door handles? The ones that are flush with the body and then pop out to greet you when you get close? It is such a cool bit of theater. It makes the car feel special every single time you walk up to it. Until, it doesn't.
So here's what happens. There's a little electric motor inside that door handle, and it just gives up. It burns out. And when it does, the handle doesn't pop out anymore. And just like that, you are literally locked out of your own car from that side. What was once a cool party trick is now a very real, very annoying problem. And fixing that problem is going to cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,000 per handle.
for a feature that, let's be honest, is 100% for show. Yikes. And look, the list just keeps going. If you're looking at the convertible, that top mechanism is a $4,000 time bomb. The big, powerful brakes on the R and SVR models, that's thousands of dollars to replace per axle. And of course, you get all the classic electrical gremlins, random warning lights that pop up for no reason, a battery that dies if you don't drive it for a few days. It is exhausting.
So let's zoom out for a minute. Let's look past the individual repair bills and talk about the bigger picture. Because the problem isn't just what breaks, it's the entire headache of actually trying to own and get one of these cars serviced.
Just look at this chart. This tells you so much of the story right here. Jaguar has a tiny dealer network in the US compared to BMW or Mercedes. For a lot of people in this country, the nearest dealer is hours and hours away. It can turn getting a simple service into a whole logistical nightmare.
And all of this creates a perfect storm of pain. You've got very few dealers, you have even fewer independent mechanics who actually know how to work on these things, and the parts themselves are way more expensive than for their German rivals. So what you end up with are the running costs of a handmade British exotic car, but you're trying to pay it for it on a used car budget. The math just doesn't work. And this right here is the bottom line. On a typical year, you can expect to spend somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000 just on maintenance and repairs. Now think about that. On a car that you might have paid $40,000 for, you could be spending 10 to 15% of its entire value every single year just keeping it on the road. That is just brutal.
So, after all of that, it really comes down to one simple question. Is all that beauty, all that noise, and all that performance actually worth the guaranteed financial pain? Should you buy one, or should you say buy?
And for us, the verdict is crystal clear. Buy. The Jaguar F-Type is a beautiful, beautiful dream that almost always turns into a financial nightmare. It is a car to admire from afar, maybe rent one for a weekend getaway, but it is absolutely not a car you should own. The romance of the design is powerful, I get it, but the reality of owning one is just a relentless, expensive, and in the end, heartbreaking ordeal. Trust me, those 1,000 cuts will eventually bleed you dry.